Welcome to Queen Deluxe. Let's do some vintage sewing. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to pad out a dress form to your measurements. We're going to take a regular hard dress form and pad it out with all kinds of things. I will show you in just a few seconds. This video is part of the CoCoVid weekend celebration. If you want to know more about that and links to some playlists and stuff, be sure to check out the description box below. Also, at the end of this video, there will be a badge for you to collect as part of that celebration. If you want information on that, be sure to check in the description box. All right, let's get to work. Hello and welcome to How to Pad Out a Dress Form. I have a sort of knockoff dress form. It was really a model in a window. It's not a great dress form, but it works, and I'm going to be padding it out to my measurements. So first things first, you're going to be needing to take the measurements of the existing dress form and then have the measurements that you're trying to achieve. You can pad out with almost anything. It can be fabric, fluff. I actually have some wool scrap that felted. I ruined a sweater, and so I'm using that. It got thrown in the washing machine by accident, and so I've cut it up, and I'm going to be using that as some padding. But really, you can use anything. Some fancy dress forms come with pads that you can add on. You can buy kits of those that are foam and are kind of like shapes of different body parts. You can add them. They have like hip pads and buttocks pads and bust pads to fill in all of those sections for your specific body shape that you're trying to achieve. Tomorrow I have a video on bias draping, and you need to have your form set to the body type that you're going to be draping for. Bias is kind of forgiving on who, lots of people can wear the dress once it's done, but it's best if you're spending all the time doing a bias draping that you want it to be, and you want to fit yourself or someone else specific. It's good to spend the time to get the dress form exactly the measurements and shape that is that person as close as you can. So I've got my measurements and I've got the dress form's measurements. So let's start padding this guy out. I need some pins. You want to drive your pins through your padding all the way to the dress form itself, pushing the head of the pin all the way as far as it will go. So a lot of times these dress forms have a very flat stomach. I don't know a lot of people that have a super flat stomach, so that is a good place to start. All right, the bust is pretty close on this one. I'm just gonna add a little bit of shoulder blade. Right here, I have a little bit of a wider back. Lady does. And I tend to pad one side and then the other so that we get it symmetrical, and you can make sure that we're about in the same spots. Not every body is symmetrical, but it's best to try to, unless you know exactly what your how asymmetrical your person is, it's best to try to keep it symmetrical just for ease of patterning. Now I need to add some to the waist. Probably a lot. This is very small waist. And you're just going to keep checking with your measuring tape to see how close you are. Quite a bit. That's nice. I am trying to keep in mind keeping it smooth. You don't want too many lumps and bumps. We will put a top on to sort of smooth out the lumps and bumps. The other thing to keep in mind is to think about the way muscles work on the body. I think it's helpful to check an anatomy book on how those muscles look so that you can mimic them in your padding. Okay. Need a little extra booty. Okay, so I'm gonna run some pins down like the center line here. And I have some poly fluff over here. And I'm gonna stick that inside. This is pretty flat. And I am not. A little too much roller skating, if there is such a thing. Good. Probably a little lower too. Oh, we're getting there. Oh yeah. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my shoulder blades. I got a little bit of thickening on the waist. I think I need to do a little bit more. And the hips look, and the butt looks pretty good. Have some poly batting. Ooh, good, it's nice and thin. Excellent. I'm gonna start in the back. Fill in a little bit of the waist, and then I'm gonna smooth it out. Cut off some of these lumpy bumps. I'm gonna make like a makeshift dart right here. This polyfill doesn't have a grain, so you don't need to worry about it. Now, I've used shoulder pads, I've used all kinds of things. So get creative, see what you have around, especially in this pandemic situation. You don't have to be ordering a bunch of stuff that you don't need. I give you permission to put crazy things on the inside that no one's gonna see. I probably have a little more hip here, but I think for what this is, it's good enough. You get the idea. You can make it any shape that you need it to be. All right, and then you can cover this in muslin if you would like. It can be like this. I've also done like a stretch, like spandex or a stretch fabric of some kind, and you kind of make a sock for the whole thing, so it's really nice and smooth. And then you can put your design tapes on it. Or go ahead and do a little bit of covering with the muslin, and then what she looks like finished. Okay, so I added a little bit of hip. Now my measurements are right on. I have some scrap muslin from an old mock-up, so I'm going to be putting that on. There was a sort of bias seam down one of the things, so I'm going to line that up with the center front seam of the dress form. Then I have a ridge there to play with when I'm draping. And there's a little bit excess here on the side, because I have a kind of an extreme waist to hip curve. So I'm gonna pinch that out and try to do that on this, match the seam of the side seam here. So that our indications are all in the same spots. It's helpful when draping. And then I'm going to pull the back, see if we can get this smooth. A ridge there from my padding. Just gonna go with it though. And then I would do the same thing to the other side. And we're gonna get a hip piece on sort of the same way. Okay? Show you when I'm done. There she is, all covered in muslin. It's nice and smooth. Alright, so scoot her up. I'm gonna put a waist tape on so that we know where the waist is. Measure down from the nape of the neck. Check that this is in the right spot. It looks good. Can throw a couple of pins in just so it won't shift. You can do this with twill tape or ribbon or whatever you got going. Have it handy. Okay, and now she's ready to do some draping on. Thanks for joining me in this little journey on padding out a dress form. Be sure to check out my next video in this series, Bias Draping Primer. Don't forget to collect your badge. And if you enjoyed yourself, go ahead and like all the things and follow me on Instagram at Queen Deluxe Sew. I'll see you next time. Bye.